Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is a horror film from the UK, English language, released in the year 2015, directed by Paul Hyatt, and this film is called Howl. So Howl starts off with his ticket inspector. He is very disheartened with his job because he failed to get a promotion that he really wanted, and so he has been assigned to the night shift of this train that is travelling from one destination to another. It's going to be a fairly long trip, so already this guy's getting bored. So he's doing his thing. He's making passengers angry because he's fining them for them who don't have tickets, and then all of a sudden the train stops and the driver has disappeared. So the the ticket inspector has to assign himself the responsibility of taking care of these passengers and finding out what's going on. He realises the train has stopped in a very isolated area in the woods, and now there is a threat that is coming from the woods that is basically going to terrify these passengers throughout the night, and whether or not they can get out of this predicament is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Howl. As far as subgenres in the horror genre is concerned, I think werewolves are by far the most interesting. There's that primal sort of instinct of man and animal that combines together to make it just a very fascinating sort of mythology. And so you've got vampire movies, you've got zombie movies, all those subgenres that a lot of horror fans will click to. I really click to werewolf films, but unfortunately as far as werewolf subgenre is concerned, not a lot of movies do it very well ever since the likes of American Werewolf in London. You've got The Howling, and more recently you've got Dog Soldiers, which was fantastic. But apart from that, a lot of werewolf films, they really fail to deliver what the werewolf was all about, whether or not it's poor sort of costume design, or they don't really feel like they're as good as vampires and zombies. So coming into this movie I had high expectations because Paul Hyatt is a fantastic director. He directed a very good film called Seasoning House, and I thought that was a very brutal film, and it was a relevant film to society and how things happen in these parts of the world. So coming into a werewolf movie, I was very excited to see what he could deliver. I was hoping that he would deliver the same sort of brutality and just make a werewolf film that is very memorable. So is this a werewolf film that is going to revive the subgenre? Unfortunately, no, it's not. This movie does have a lot of problems from the simple fact that it gets sidetracked from all the good things that it was supposed to do. Now, ultimately, this movie wants to be an entertaining werewolf film, and in the aspects of the werewolves, whenever the werewolves are in the film, yes, it is very entertaining, but unfortunately Paul Hyatt goes down the path of trying to introduce you to characters and give you an insight into characters that are just not interesting. You don't care about these people. What you care about is the siege that these werewolves are coming onto the train, and they're basically trying to get to these passengers, and that's what the movie should have focused on from start to finish. It should have been a relentless, fun ride, but in the end what you get is a lot of fun, then all of a sudden it stops for these character development, a character-based drama where they're giving their sob stories and they're telling them why they're upset, and all this stuff we don't need to know because it's not gone into enough to really connect to any of these guys. You don't feel like these could be your friends. You just feel like they're annoying characters just waiting to be slaughtered. They're basically lambs to the slaughter, and because you don't get that insight, you feel that the aspects of the movie that are the character-based is just a waste of time. It's a distraction. It just stops the movie from the continuity. It just stops it from being a memorable horror film, and that was my biggest criticism of it. I thought the setting was great. It took me back to American Werewolf in London, where it was all misty and there's a very mysterious, and it feels terrifying, just the setting alone. And I thought the isolation of this train being surrounded by this woody area, you don't know what's in the shadows, so there's a lot of suspense in that, and I thought the build-up of it was very good. It doesn't take very long to get to the werewolves, but unfortunately, as I said, just sidetracks itself with these silly characters that are very annoying, and they should have been cannon fodder, and it would have been fun to just see them being torn to pieces, but it just doesn't happen at a satisfying level. There is gore in the movie, but there's not enough gore. It didn't feel like it was allowing the viewer to have as much fun as you want to have. You feel that there is a recipe for a very fun movie, but it never shows itself because it's trying to do something that it didn't need. Now, I'm all for giving characters background, but the movie, it has a really fun feel to it, and unfortunately the character side of it, it prevents it from having fun. It was kind of like the characters were the fun police, in that you're having a lot of fun, then all of a sudden they say, no, you've got to come back to characters now, you've got to have a rest. And it's just like, Taking me back to my childhood, for example, I loved playing outside, but then all of a sudden my parents call me in because it's getting too late, or that I've done something wrong, and just that disappointment of having to go inside after having such a fun time. That's exactly what I got with Howl, is that you're having so much fun playing outside, then all of a sudden you have to come in and you have to deal with stuff that just lets it down, and lets the overall experience down. And that was a great shame, because Paul Hyatt is a very good director. The characters, as I said, they just weren't that interesting, but the werewolves, the costume design of the werewolves was pretty decent. I like the ferocious attacks, but there's just not enough of that to really keep the film going. And in the end, what you get is another werewolf film that promises to be something great, but unfortunately it just comes across as fairly pedestrian, and as a result of that, I'm only going to give Howl 2.5 stars. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.